As an editor, you're supposed to tell a story. Editing is a rhythm. The name is Lapwoc Marilyn Elizabeth. I am a video editor, post-production supervisor, and animator. Opportunities are here. Editing, it's putting film footage together and creating a story. The editing process starts from the DIT. A DIT bridges the gap between pre-production and post-production. Then the footage goes to the editor to cut. Cuts are just film transitions between images to the next shot, to the next scene. The question is, are they beneficial? Is the shot that you're cutting into telling a story? You're supposed to bring out a particular emotion. So what's the next step? You have the colorist and the sound. Color grading is a technique that creates a mood, an atmosphere, or a time. After doing all that, make sure the sound is clear. It's very important for us to have clear communication. Work as a team. As an editor, you're supposed to be a problem solver. Don't get so attached to your work. Be open to criticism. Make sure not to get very comfortable. That's your greatest enemy. The world is evolving, and it's important for you to know the new softwares or the new techniques and how to ease your editing skill. Start from where you are. Do a lot of research. You have a machine, get the softwares. Do a lot of practice. Look out for opportunities, get online courses, make new connections that, would help enhance your trajectory as an editor. The name is Lapwoc Marilyn Elizabeth. I am a video editor, post-production supervisor, and animator. Opportunities are here. Editing is just, in a layman's language, it's putting film footage together and creating a story. Editing is basically a rhythm, yeah? What you're cutting, what are you cutting? When do you cut, How long is the shot? How long is the take? What emotion are you trying to get from the audience? Is it believable? That's basically what editing is. Color grading. Color grading is basically a technique that brings out a mood or an atmosphere or a time. The editing process starts from the DIT. So who is a DIT? A DIT is a digital imaging technician. This was brought about as a response to the transition from the long established film, movie, camera medium to the current cinema era. Yeah, digital cinema era. That's why they're called digital imaging technicians. So what they do, they're supposed to initially from set, they're supposed to have like a codex summary of the deliverables. So a DIT is supposed to know if the footage comes out in 4K, what resolution, what aspect ratio, is it 16:9? Frame rate, is it 25, is it 24? They're actually supposed to work hand in hand with a DOP. But this is not usually done because DITs, quote unquote, are supposed to do data wrangling. And that's only logging footage, but that's not it. So a DIT has the power to talk to the DOP and tell them, so this is overly exposed. This is, the contrast is not working, the brightness is not working. So all that's the job of a DIT, yeah? To secure, make sure the image, yeah? Like I said, quality control. Make sure the quality and the image looks good, yeah, from the get-go. And that's on set. Then, as I said, a DIT bridges the gap between pre-production and post-production. So after that, they dump footage, they collect the footage, dump it, create backups, put this footage in on different drives, look through the footage, yeah? And as they look through the footage, they're supposed to have the log sheets, the scenes that are set up for the day. Have they been shot fully or halfway? Has the sound been recorded? Has the video been recorded with sound, camera sound, in order to sync the audio, the original audio that has been recorded by the sound recordist? All this the DIT is supposed to do. Then after that, looking through the footage, they're supposed to log, yeah? That's naming. So you create a system, say it's a name of a movie, and then the scene number, then the shot, then the take. They're supposed to create a system. So after naming the footage, they're supposed to look through the footage as they sync, yeah? And this process usually is done after creating proxy files, but some editors don't, depends on how heavy the footage is. Sometimes the footage is not that heavy and you just sync the video and audio and you're good to go. The DIT is supposed to have notes for the editor, yeah, for the best takes, just in case there are issues and they think particular takes work better for a particular movie. So yes, that's the work of a DIT. Then the footage goes to the editor. The editor starts to cut, yeah? When it comes to choosing the best takes, of course it has to come from the script. You have to have the writer's vision, you have to have the director's vision, and see things the way they see them. Not entirely, but I mean, from what they've written, you can tell what they wanted to communicate to the audience. So when it comes to choosing the best takes, it's very important for you to read through the script, know what the writer had in mind, look through the footage you have, know what the director had in mind, the vision of what they had in mind. And you also, when you're cutting as an editor, you're supposed to tell a story, yeah? Like I said, editing is a rhythm. So when you're cutting as an editor, you need to know when to cut what. So what cuts are you going to use? We have the J cut. The J cut is just when the audio overlaps to, you know, the visual before, yeah? That's the video before. And then we have the L cut. You cut, but then the audio also overlaps into another video. That's the L cut. Then we have the jump cut. Yeah, there is no visual continuity, the jump cut. Then you have a hard cut. A hard cut is a standard cut, yeah? Then you have the cross-cutting. Cross-cutting is just cutting from one shot to another, and then you go back to the shot, and then cross-cutting. Then cutting on action, yeah? So that means when an action is going on, you're cutting on action. Yes. Then you have match cuts, which have similar visuals. So that's cutting from a visual that is similar to another, so it's not disturbing to the eye. Then there are a couple of cuts. So there's a montage. A montage is just cutting a couple of videos or clips or even images, yeah, just to create sort of like a time lapse, for some editors. And then we have the cutaways is also a type of cut, though it's now in the category of images. It's considered as a B-roll, but it's, yeah. So cutaway is just cutting to, say, from my headshot to this, to my glasses. Those are cutaways to my shoes. Those are some of the transitions. You can use cuts to transition to another cut. Yeah, cuts are just film transitions that show connection or progression to the next, you know, between images to the next shot, to the next scene. So when you're using cuts, remember you're supposed to sell the story to the audience. You're supposed to bring out a particular emotion. So how do you do that? Do not use shots because they're permissible, yeah? The question is, are they beneficial? Is the shot that you're cutting into telling a story? Is the frame working, you know? So I'll give an example of worst case scenario. The DOP has given you a shot and it's one take. You have the character, say, in the bathroom, yeah, seated, crying. There's a whole depression vibe going on, and then it's a wide shot, yeah. How are you going to use that? As an editor, you're supposed to be a problem solver. You're supposed to be able to fix, you know, like they say, fix it in post. So how do you use that shot? You can create two shots out of just one shot. Get the wide shot, remember we want to feel and get a certain emotion out of the character that is, you know, crying. And we want to draw the audience to, you know, and make it believable, you know. So we have that wide shot. What are we going to do? We are going to add what is called a digital zoom. It's not going to be seen, it has to be felt, yeah? So we have the digital zoom. There's that moment, I hope you're visualizing, there's that moment going on, she's crying, she's depressed. We have the camera zoom in manually, digitally, and then we cut to, they've given you footage that is 4K, yeah? So you can zoom in into, say, a close-up. So you come from a very subtle digital zoom you punch into that close-up to see the tears, the emotion, the eyes, the tweaks, and all that. Of course, the sound will also contribute to what's going on. That's already troubleshooting. That's already, you know, fixing it in post. You've been given one shot. So when the audience is watching, they want to know, oh, the DOP gave us just one take or one shot and it was a still. So best case scenario, the DOP has given you beautiful shots. Say, for example, an aerial shot, yeah? The lady is still in the bathroom. She's crying, she's, you know, depressed. We have an aerial shot. Just that shot tells a story. First of all, yes, we're establishing the place, but also she looks small in a big, you know, this is her world. The bathroom is her world, yeah? So she looks tiny and diminished and, you know, that's already telling a story. It's creating a certain emotion, you know, out of you, the person who is watching. And then we have a close-up. Yeah, so we've drawn into a very uncomfortable close-up. It's too close that you can see the texture in her face, yeah? And then plus add onto the music, and then, you know, you can add the digital zoom or not. But yeah, those are some of the examples I'd give. I took you through the process of choosing your best text, yeah? So you have your best text, you have your cuts, you know, and then the script is corresponding to the footage that has been given and the cuts that you've made. So then you start working on, because it's not cutting, you start working on the pacing, yeah? Like I said, what emotion do you want to get from the audience? So the pacing also contributes to what you want to get out of the audience. You have your pacing going on, and then the sound. Is the sound clear? Yeah? I'm not talking about editing or cleaning the sound. No, you're not yet there, because it's your first assemble, yeah? Your rough cut. So with your rough cut, usually the sound can be as dirty, or you're not yet doing the Foley, you're not yet doing cleaning sound, you're not yet putting soundtracks, but you can put them just to create that mode. So when you're giving the rough cut to the director or the producers or whoever to watch, and you need feedback, that's when you explain yourself, or you make them feel like, okay, so this is a type of music that is supposed to be, that fits this particular scene, or that fits this particular part in the story or in the movie. When I started editing, I started with Premiere Pro. Premiere Pro is one of the softwares that you use as an editor. Some people use Final Cut, but I didn't try it personally, but you can try it as well. Then there's DaVinci Resolve. It's best for color grading, but editing as well. It's quite easy and very user-friendly. You can also do sound in DaVinci, yeah? You can clean your sound in DaVinci. There are Pro Tools. It's a software for sound, Audition, Adobe. The whole Adobe suite is it comes in handy. Yeah, you can use After Effects. So usually, editors have issues with cutting footage that has been given to you. It's supposed to be, say, 1 hour and 45 minutes. You have footage that goes up to 3 hours, yeah? Or 2.5. I don't want to be very extreme. So you have footage that goes up to 2.5 hours. So how do you deal with this? First of all, you have to cut and give the directors and these people the scenes that they've shot, yeah? So after that, you first clean your cuts and make sure, the pacing is right, the cuts are, adding up to, you're telling a story, you're communicating, yeah? But then it may lag a bit because, first of all, the footage you have is very long. So what you do is have a screening with the director. After your screening with the director, get feedback. Be willing to, now, this is a tip. Don't get so attached to your work, yeah? This is one of the things that I've been struggling with, but we're still learning. So be open to criticism, positive criticism, negative criticism. So as an editor, while you're building your work ethics, you need to be open to, ideas from, say, your post-production supervisor or your director or the person, the producers or your bosses, so that, because if you're attached to your work, you're not going to be willing to adjust. And remember, we need to take away some sins. Directors also have these issues, but it's okay. We all have these issues. So we need to come to disagree to agree, and make sure to eliminate some of these sins if they're not working. Remember, it doesn't just have to be permissible. It has to be beneficial. Is it adding to the story? Is it adding to what you want to communicate? If it is, then we'll, stay with that. If it's not, we have to take it away. And I mean, you can add these sins in the promos, yeah? So they can come in handy in future. But that's how you zero down to the exact time that is needed in a film. Eliminating, cleaning your shots, working on the pace, yeah. There are scenarios where you lose footage, yeah? So usually, why do we lose footage as an editor? First of all, it's because we don't have a DIT. That's the main job of a digital imaging technician. You're supposed to have all the video, all the sound packaged and dumped, create a backup. If you want 2 backups, create 2 backups, depending on how you are financially. So you buy enough drives for backups. It's safer that way. So these are some of the consequences that come in regards to when you lose footage, yeah? Sometimes if your producers are willing to spare money and go for reshoots, well and good. But in case you're not, in case the producers are not, then you're losing scenes. You're losing a particular piece of the story, piece of the puzzle. And that's not good, either for you or the producer or the director. And the story that you're trying to tell may not be told the way you want it to be told. So usually when you lose footage, there is an option to recover, the footage from the drive. Some drives allow, some drives are just corrupt, and you can't recover the footage. There are online programs that help recover the footage. Then there are cracks that you can use to recover the footage from the drives. If you're lucky, you get it back. But then there are possibilities of getting back the footage, but then it's still corrupt. The video itself is corrupt. It's pixelated, and yet you shot it in 4K. So there are those issues. Or the sound is distorted, and yet it was clear, while it was being recorded. So please hire DITs. Just a recap. From the logging, the naming, looking through footage, you put your footage in your timeline, you cut, create the right cuts, transitions, pacing, give the director to watch through or the producers to watch through, remove some scenes, shorten the episode or the movie to 1 hour and 45 if it's a feature film. After doing all that, make sure the sound is clear, make sure everything, sounds right. If there's need for ADR, go record the ADR, sync, do the lip syncing. Just make sure everything is sitting right with the director, with the writers, the producers, and yourself. Then that's when we have the final cut, which is also called locked picture. You have your images locked You have your video locked, you have your movie locked, you have your TV series locked or episode locked. So basically a locked picture is just the final cut where everyone is comfortable and you're ready to, you know, go to the next step. So what's the next step? You have the colorist and the sound, yeah? Or they're all on the same. So you have the colorist and the sound. So after you render out, you either render it out, or if you have a system where this machine connects to the other and what you're doing here is also done the other side, you just go ahead with your color grading. That's why it's very important for us to have clear communication, yeah? Work as a team, because all these departments are very, very important, and it's very vital for you to make sure the colorist knows that this is a locked picture. We don't want you editing after handing it into the colorist and then this guy is in grading and then doing his magic and you bring another version of the movie. It's very frustrating. So same with the sound. Now sound is really, if you don't communicate clearly, there are issues because he has to, you know, go back to zero. So it's very important for you to have teamwork, good teamwork, yeah? Because you're attaching your name to this work. So it's very, very important. Color grading is a technique that basically creates a mood, an atmosphere, or a time. Yeah, there are different kinds of color grading. There's analogous color grading, there's moody color grading, there's triadic color grading. These are very big terms, but they basically mean, you know, the meanings are very, very easy to pick or easy to learn. So in a layman's language, analogous color grading. So this is just a technique that has colors that are close to each other in the color wheel, yeah? For example, red and orange. It creates a warm look or a warm feel. So you lean towards the red and orange. Then we have the moody color grading. Moody color grading usually leans towards the cool colors, which are the blues, because usually the scenes that are graded like that have like dark shadows, and then we have dim lighting, so it creates like a horror kind of look. Yeah, that's the moody, like in its name. Then we have vintage color grading. Vintage color grading is just it gives you a retro look, yeah? It depicts a sense of nostalgia. Like usually editors use it for flashbacks, yeah? Maybe if you're doing a movie that represents a certain time in history, yeah? That's vintage color grading, in its name, vintage. Then we have cross-processing color grading. This is it's just extremes of color shifts, yeah? It gives a very unconventional look. It's out of this world, but it looks very appealing to the eyes. Then we have bleach color grading, which is bleach bypass. It's also called bleach bypass. We use less contrast, we use less saturation. So that's also a type of color grading. Then we have triadic color grading. This, they use a lot of contrast, but then the colors are evenly spaced in the color wheel. So for example, red, yellow, blue, or purple, green, and orange, yeah? It's like it depends on what you're going for. Then we have another style of color grading. It's called high key saturation. High key saturated color grading. Yeah, this basically means the use of hue and saturation. It's basically for skin tones mainly. Yeah, color is usually, it's basically for skin tones. Yeah, so those are the styles or the types of color grading, depending on the story you're trying to tell, depending on the mood you're going for, depending on the emotion you're trying to pull out of the audience. Remember going back memory lane, yeah, in school, how you're in class and then your English teacher tells you, rewrite, but rewrite without changing the meaning. So same as it just comes back to editing, yeah? How do you fix and solve problems? Do not overdo it, yeah? Because you're fixing, it's important for you to fix and get solutions that don't change the director's vision. Yeah, because remember, you're telling a story, not only your story, because I know how we like to be creative in the editing room, but then also not forgetting the director's vision and the writer's vision. Yeah, that's very, very key. Usually what we shoot may not be, or what the writers write may not be what we get in the footage, which is okay. Yeah, we may cut footage and then go back to the drawing board because what we shot, it's not telling a story, it's not working, and that happens all the time. There's no smooth production, and that's okay. So you can, there's planning for a shoot, a production, and then specifically post-production, you're like, okay, we're done shooting in this month of May, and then we start the editing process in the next month, and then we have to go back and reshoot certain scenes because the story is just not working. Yeah, that's okay. You need to be open-minded. You need to, so if certain things can't be fixed, like they say, fix it in post, it's okay for you to go back to the drawing board, yeah, and make sure you have the director's vision, the writer's vision, and make sure you're telling a story. So usually when you're an editor, it's important for you not to slack, or there's being lazy, yeah? Just be lazy outside the studio or outside your machine. Yeah, there's being lazy in the kitchen or with house chores, and that's okay. But when you're lazy in the editing room, the laziness is going to be shown and it's going to be seen in your work. I'll go back to the example I gave. You're not going to give me a wide shot. The DOP has taken, their time, given you beautiful shots, and then you're using a wide shot from start to end of the scene, yeah? And what scene is that? It's just it's an emotional scene of a character, yeah, of a lady seated in the bathroom at the corner of the room. We're not getting any emotion, we're not getting anything, and it's just a wide shot, yeah? You have shots to use, but you're lazy, And then there's also being lazy because you've mastered its Scrum work. So you have a certain formula on how you cut your footage. Yeah, so you cut from the OTS, yeah, over the shoulder, and then to another OTS of the other person, and then back to the shot, and then back, and then back. So that's also laziness. You're cutting, but you're not telling a story. So the audience is distracted by the cuts, and then we're not understanding the story. You're just seeing the eyes are not, the visuals are not appealing to the eyes because I'm not even getting time to interpret, the emotion that comes out of the character and the actor or the actress. So that's also laziness. Again, if we have issues or challenges like grain, say for example, you've received footage that has a lot of grain or has particular scenes in the movie that have grain. Well, sometimes there's a color grading technique that also has grain. So you either have a subtle feel of grain for every scene in the movie, depending on what the director wants, or the producer, or the people commissioning for that particular movie. If they're comfortable with it, that's okay. But if the deliverables are not aligning with grain and they don't want any grain or any funny artifacts, do away with the grain. There's grain remover. You can literally remove grain. Yes, the files are a bit heavy, yeah, but it's okay. And it also makes the skin a bit, soft. It makes the picture soft, and it may give an effect of the footage is not in focus. But that's okay, because you're working with what you have, what you've been given. If there's a possibility of doing a reshoot, which is not very likely, then that's also a possibility. If the producers or the director is willing to do a reshoot, then that's okay. So we have challenges like shaky shots. Yeah, if you have footage that is very shaky and cannot survive, you either go for a reshoot or you try to play around with it, try to tweak it in your cuts, intentionally create jump cuts or make the scene enjoyable, depending on the story, yeah? We're not going for an emotional scene and then we have a shaky, you can create soundtracks that have that do, depending on how dramatic you want your movie or your particular video, depending on what you're going for. So if you have shaky shots, you can stabilize them. Sometimes you stabilize and they're not fixable. That's okay. For a beginner out there, one of the tips or the advice I would give you is do a lot of research. Make sure you get online. Start from where you are. You have a machine, get the softwares, get DaVinci. If you have Premiere Pro, get Premiere Pro, the free versions, yeah? Start from where you are. Do a lot of practice, because that's what makes you, it's like football. You're as good as your last game. So it's usually very, very important for you to look out for opportunities, get online courses. For example, there are programs online. There's AfriSource, post-production residency. There's Kino Eyes, it's online. You can apply for those. They do trainings, 2 years. Then there's Doc Nomads, specifically for documentaries. You can apply for that and go for a course as well, or training or guidance or mentorship. So it's just very, very important for you to look out for opportunities and go in, spaces or festivals or meetings and make new connections that, would help enhance your trajectory and help you grow as a filmmaker, grow as an editor, pick people's minds, get different ideas from different people, meet the celebrities, get motivated. So for the Editors that are already in the game, make sure not to get very comfortable, because that's your greatest enemy. The world is evolving, and it's important for you to know the new softwares or the new gadgets or the new techniques, and how to ease your editing skill. You don't have to do things from scratch. As for graphics, if you're a graphics designer and you're an editor as well, there's some templates that you can use. You don't have to create something from scratch, and that's okay. You just have to customize it and use it to the best of on what you want to communicate or what you want to bring out.